Hey, it's Mikey from Rockin' K, and this is our weekly roundup. It is what we've done, what we're gonna do, and we're gonna answer some questions and talk about some comments today. So that is coming up.
See you soon.
So it's been an interesting week.
We say that every week.
Yeah, we say it every week, but it is an adventure. That's why we named it Rockin' K Adventures. But we did not get any renovation work done.
No. But we got a lot of work done around the homestead.
Yeah, but in the background, we did some prep on renovation and stuff like that, but nothing noteworthy or worthy of videotaping.
Nothing finished.
Yeah. So we did, however, move some dirt.
Yes, we
If
did.
you watched the last post, the last installment, we moved some dirt from one of the properties here to a friend's homestead that needed dirt. And thankfully, we have lots of it.
Yes, we do.
So we delivered 3 trailers of dirt.
That'll get her started on fixing her depression, I guess.
She has an area that comes down and she wants to raise it up and flatten it out some.
Yeah.
It's a place that a deck used to exist, but decks only last so long. It doesn't matter how well you weather treat them or anything like that.
Especially here in Germany with all the rain and moisture.
They rot out, and dirt's not going anywhere. Well, erosion, it can happen, but so this is a little more permanent. And so we moved 3 trailers. Didn't move. I mean, we moved a lot of dirt. Don't get me wrong. Nothing like a dump truck would do. Our trailer is limited to 2,700 kilos gross weight. So, like, the second one was like right the sweet spot.
Yeah, the first one was light.
The third was overloaded. I think it was overloaded. We don't have scales to check.
Well, the bad thing is the soil we're moving is very clay. So with all this water and it's still slightly frozen, so even though it looked like the same amount because it had so much water, I think it was a lot heavier.
Yeah. So we got 3 trailers moved, and it was a good start. We're going to deliver more.
Yeah.
Just for GWiz info, this is the second time we're actually shooting this.
Yeah.
The first time we shot it in like an ultra high def, and the file, I don't know if it's the software or my computer. It's not
able to handle it.
Didn't work.
Yeah. But that's part of this is a growing process.
Yeah, we're learning.
I'm trying to get better HD for y'all.
Yeah, we're trying to improve on our video quality.
Yeah.
And
without having to buy new equipment yet.
And so I cranked up the resolution, and it did not like that.
Yeah, the computer was like, nah, not happening.
So we shot, the last one was maybe 9 minutes or so. Yeah. I don't even know what it was, but it was over 20 gigs of video file. And while I'm like, okay, it took a while to get it into the computer on the upload, and then when I brought it into the editing software, it was like, no, I'm not.
It didn't even process it. So
I don't know if it's the software. I don't know if it's the hardware. We'll figure it out. I'm going to look at other options for video editing. I've needed to for a while.
Yeah. So this is take 2.
Yeah, this is take 2. So we did get work done around the homestead, and what was done was more of a cleanup. She went down and used her chainsaw and cut down a plum grove.
That was the one that was behind my garden.
Yeah, along the back of the garden in the chicken coop.
I wanted it gone before this next planting season. It just puts too much shade.
And then we had a lot of shoots and various stuff growing up around the other trees.
Yeah, the rest of the orchard we went through and cut out all the suckers and all the saplings. And Mike went in with the pole saw and cut some of the branches that are dead or were crowding the other branches.
We started that. So we don't have footage of it. We will have footage coming up of doing the actual tree pruning and stuff and the removal of the other trees. That's coming. She took all the brush and loaded it into the trailer.
Yep, to take to the other project I have going for the airbase we work at, where we've got the community garden going, and we've decided as a working group that we are going to do hugelkultur, where you line organic biomass in the bottom and then you cover it with the dirt, and then this biomass breaks down, adds nutrients to the soil, it retains water so that you don't have to water as often, as well as it creates warmth, so it helps the seeds germinate. And it's been proven to produce more produce. You get more from each plant, just specifically. But this will also be a way that we can ensure that there's not going to be that want to use commercial fertilizers in those gardens, because it is a organic, chemical-free community garden.
Yeah, and also, like she was saying, it takes up room in the beds. Not as much earth needs to be used and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Plus, we got plenty of it.
Yeah.
So,
and it's clean. It's not been treated. It's it's a clean biomass that's going in there. We will be mixing in the sawdust that Mike has generated from cutting
all of our firewood is cut for the year.
Yeah, because that breaks down a lot quicker, and it's clean. Those trees were never treated with anything, so it's pure wood sawdust.
Yep. And so, what do we got coming up? We should be working on the renovation. We'll hopefully we can do some work on that. And should we not be able to do the renovation work, we're going to move on to like the tree pruning.
Yeah.
The tree pruning I can get in the field and not have to use the tractor or anything. So the field is very soft right now.
Yeah, it's a mucky mess.
I
had one load that I was able to pick up with the tractor, and the rut
it put ruts.
coming out.
It put ruts
Yeah.
a good 6 inches deep.
Yeah.
So if we get a freeze, we'll remove the last 2 apple trees, the ones that are rotted, the ones that you saw in the video footage. We'll get those out and get all the brush out of the field. We did manage to burn the brush that we had in the fire pit. We sat out there last night and sat around a nice campfire, burning that stuff. Yeah. So we did get rid of that. She will take a bulk of the new brush to the community garden and fill those community garden beds with that.
We're hoping to have that done. I'm hoping on Wednesday, but it really depends on how many volunteers we get, because it's going to be a big job.
Well, she has the first bit is in the trailer, and she'll take that, and then when the trailer comes back, it has to go for its inspection, and then we can go ahead and load more brush to bring to the community garden. On to some YouTube stuff. We did get a couple of comments. One of the comments was talking about, did we speak German?
Yeah.
We're fairly fluent in German.
They understand us.
Not 100%, but we get by.
Yeah.
It is a difficult language to learn, and I say that as an American. The way English is structured is a little different than most other languages. So English,
and German's definitely one of those
English
languages.
English learners have a hard time with other languages.
Yes.
But hey, we do speak enough to get by.
Well, they do understand us. Oftentimes, they mistake me from not being an American. They think I'm from the Netherlands. I don't know. I guess my accent doesn't sound American when I speak German. And they will argue with me, no, you're from the Netherlands. But they understand us. And if they don't understand, they will ask you. And oftentimes, when you speak German, if they have a difficulty, they switch into English.
Yeah. They say they can't speak English, but they will. But another part of a comment was about like the rules and restrictions here in Germany, and they do have rules and restrictions here in Germany, but they're actually different than in America.
Yeah.
Or I should say in the United States. I keep referring to America. That's the whole of America. But anyway, there are rules here, and they're a little different, and they address different areas. We don't find it very constraining.
Yeah.
I mean,
sometimes it's time consuming. Their federal offices,
their bureaucracy is very time consuming.
Yeah, it's very slow. You oftentimes have to go to multiple offices. Those federal offices have really strange working hours.
And they end up relying on, we will mail you this, and then you can do whatever. So they still rely on hard print and mailing stuff. But we both have lived in various different places.
Yes.
It's the benefit and the downfall sometimes of being military and stuff like that. So we've done the South, we've done the North, and we know. I've seen crazy rules in different places.
Yeah.
And Germany doesn't have the crazy rules, so it's not so bad. You can hear the shepherd in the background.
Yeah, she's not happy we're ignoring her.
She's looking at the cat and making some whining because while they get along, she wants the cat to come over.
The cat doesn't want to play, and the dog wants to play.
So anyway, so when it comes to the rules, like the commenter was saying, they are different. The commenter was talking about homeschooling and stuff like that, and how a lot of places in America or Canada allow homeschooling. Here, it is not allowed.
Not allowed.
We don't have school-age children, so it's not an issue to us.
Yeah, we have our own personal opinions on that process, but it's not. We don't care. It's not something that affects us.
It doesn't impact us, so it's not a non-starter.
Yeah.
Then we had another commenter was talking about the house and its age and stuff like that. We're not actually sitting inside the house. Where we're sitting is in a
pig barn.
It's an old pigsty, an old pig barn. So we're actually sitting in one of the barns that we did a remodel on. Unfortunately, we didn't videotape it or document it.
It was way before we started the channel. And it was a 2-year process.
Yeah, we didn't videotape or document it. It was a COVID project that, while it started to be a minor project, it became a huge project.
Yes.
So
lots of mind changing.
We learned a lot, and we're applying that to the current renovation, which is still, believe it or not, it's still inside the barn we're sitting in. Because there is a door that goes into the actual house. But they were talking about, the ages of the structures. And so what we do know is the house existed in the early 1900s.
Yes.
And
it was given a name. They didn't used to number the houses. They only had names.
So what we mean by number is you had...
number
10 Main Street, or here it's the other way around. It's Main Street, House 10.
Yeah.
As an address, and those didn't exist. Those didn't exist when the house was first built.
Yes.
When the house was first built, houses were named by a family name, or if there was multiple same name families.
It was the nickname of the
they used
person.
a nickname, or they used maybe what the person did as the name for the house.
Yeah.
So this house. Here was named House Nichols, and Nichols as in the currency, the 5-cent piece. Yeah. So we know the house existed before street addresses, which dates it to the early 1900s. It did burn down in the 60s. We believe it was 1969. The house burned down and was rebuilt in its place.
Somewhere in that time frame, in the late 60s, it burned down.
And that's very evident by, we know the house was built in the late 60s because the motif, when you look, it has like glass block windows in the stairwells. It has a construction system, which was pointed out by the viewer, which is what they call beam and block.
Yeah.
So they put up beams that were cement beams with a lot of rebar in them, and then these blocks that drop in.
Yeah.
And that was something that was used, like it was the newest whiz-bang thing, and a lot of people were using it in the late 60s.
Yeah. Well, and there's other things that we know, like with the light switches, The electric box.
The wiring had the red black
Yeah.
standard, which is late 60s, from 65 to 69, somewhere in there. It was the old standard for wires, so we know roundabout when it was put in.
The big, huge round fuses.
Yep, it has fuses versus breakers, which we're slowly getting everything. I wouldn't even say up to code because it's still because when it was installed, it was the standard. It's still good here.
But even the old.
But we're replacing everything.
What do you call the box that the circle's in?
The meter
the
box.
mouse wheel.
The meter.
The meter box. The meter box was straight out of the 60s.
The meter was an old Bakelite electrical meter, and they've replaced it since with a smart meter.
Now it's a smart meter.
We have a smart meter.
I miss seeing the wheel, though.
So the room we're sitting in, the wall on that side is actually stacked stone and mud.
Yeah.
And the walls on either side, front street side and back side, are block. Yeah. And what's funny is then the wall to my left here is actually stacked red brick.
Yes.
Then you go on to the next wall, and the next wall is block. So it's a mix and a hodgepodge. And I know what happened is when they rebuilt the house, they used the newer building materials, and assuming that parts of the barn were taken out in the process, so they just installed the newer walls. We do have a lot of post and beam. In fact, above us is the post and beam. The post and beam comes down through, and then in the barn there's a post and beam, and that is very like 1920s, 1930s.
Yeah.
Because we're talking, it is post and beam. Some of those beams being 40 and 50 foot long.
Solid oak.
With the attachment hardware and everything that I see on it, it looks to be, if I had to make a best guess, is mid-20s, 30s, 1920s, 1930s construction.
With the barns, all the outbuildings didn't need blueprints. So we in the house, when they rebuilt it in the 60s, there was no blueprint. He just rebuilt. He didn't use, we found this out later, he didn't use firms. The electrical was done by his cousin, who was our neighbor up on the hill.
Yep.
The man, he paid him in beer and food.
The plumbing is a mix of steel, copper, and some early form of PEX.
Yeah.
So it's
very, whatever he could get his hands on.
It's very interesting, and I totally understand, because you understand this was a working farm.
Yeah.
So farmers do what farmers do. Farmers don't have unlimited resources and unlimited funds. People think they're rich and everything because they have these.
Well, and on top of that, you've got to realize that was only 15 years after the end of World War II. Yeah, but so Germany was still very much recovering.
Yeah, but we're also talking about, it was a farmer.
Yeah.
He didn't have the unlimited resources. Yeah. People think farmers have money because they have a $200,000 combine or something like that.
Mortgage to the hilt.
They're paying for that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the house is a hodgepodge. The area where our heater is, the wood boiler.
It is the oldest part.
Is the oldest part left.
Yeah.
And it is stone and mud. It's stacked stone and mud. Which makes it interesting when you're trying to attach structure to it, because you have to hit the rock and not the mud, because nothing's going to hold.
Sound.
You can put a 4-inch insert in it and it's not going to hold. So you have to make sure you hit rock and stuff like that, which was very interesting when I did the heater wall and my heater wall build. I had to make sure that I was hitting stone with the fasteners. So that's why I did stringers down the wall in order to attach the substructure to the wall and then the fireboard. So it is a mix of.
Yeah. And another piece of evidence that tells us that the house existed before the 60s was the road was not paved until the end of the 60s, and when they paved the road, the houses that were there, they brought the road. They didn't make the road,
instead of the road having undulations and everything,
they made the road straight.
They made it 100% straight.
And if your house was below that grade, the dirt went right up to your house.
Yep.
So in the mud, in the wood barn, if you were to step into the room, you would have to come down at
it's
least
like
5 steps.
Like it's like 5 or 6 feet.
This door right here behind me, you step down at least 2
Two
steps.
steps. And then what's funny is the other side of the house.
You have to step up 1 step.
You have to step up into the house.
Yeah.
So
it was the road was graded.
The road is
without regard to where your house.
Yeah,
sat.
the road is a perfect flat grade past the house, and before it would flatten out, go across the house, and then it would rise up because you got to remember it was all dirt path. But we know.
But even our stairwell with that glass block is the outside dirt is at least a half a foot over the bottom of the glass blocks. And when those glass blocks were put in, that road wasn't there because that's not the bottom of the wall.
So time-wise, we know when the house was built, and a lot of the outbuildings are just way older.
Yeah.
And because they kept adding on, the barn, the barn over here where the heater is.
That we call the wood barn.
Most of the walls are stacked stone and mud. And then the rest of the walls are block, and because they added a cow barn on to the non-street side, they took that wall out and then put block up in its place. So it's a hodgepodge of everything around. So we know the farm was in existence in the early 1900s and was a working farm with dairy.
And it had a name.
It was a dairy farm. And then the fields themselves were for the feed. They grew the grain and cut it to feed the animals. In fact, we have the combine from the 60s is still here. I inherited it when I bought the property.
Yeah, it came with the property.
And it's a 68 or 69 combine from when it was a dairy farm.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to say the least. But hopefully that answers some questions and clears some things up on the the timeline of the homestead. The renovation is eliminating a lot of the shortcomings. It was pointed out like there was no electrical boxes behind these outlets that were in what was the laundry room.
Yep.
They literally used the clamping of the switches and everything to attach them
to the walls.
Which was kind of crazy. I'm pulling it out and there's no box. The wires just drop down. But it was typical of corners that they were able to cut when they were.
Yeah, because back then there was no inspections.
Yeah, and even today there is inspections, but it's signed off by a certified electrician.
Yeah.
A state inspector doesn't come by to look at the job. It's just the installer says yes, it's good, and he certifies it. So anyway, that's that on the whole timeline of when the house was built and the renovations.
We wish we knew more, and I would love to have a picture of the original house before it burned down. But thus far, of the people that live here, nobody knows if anybody has that.
Yep.
We do every festival or party or birthday we go to, we learn something new about the house or the property or the man that owned it.
That's how we learned about the house name.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of the things we found out are not the best things.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
And that's how we know that the pear trees that we were pruning, in one of his side businesses is he would collect those pears and he turned them into schnapps, a liqueur.
He would bring them to a distillery that would turn them into a liqueur.
And then he sold it under his name.
And the way it worked was he would bring X amount, and depending upon how much of whether it was pear or apple, you would get a portion of that returned in distilled alcohol. A pear schnapps or a
hard cider, apple
or
hard
a hard cider, Feats, an apple wine.
Yeah.
But the distillery would keep the portion, and that was like their payment.
Yeah, it was a barter system.
So, it's very interesting to say the least. So we'll get on to some YouTube business, and we'll get this wrapped up. We are slowly growing. We are at 282 subscribers as of last check. We are at 25,800 views.
Which brings me to, please, if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe. Please, please, please. We really would appreciate it. We're getting the views. We know that people are watching the content. It's just hit the subscribe button. You don't even have to hit the notify, but if you hit the notify, then you know when we put one up.
Exactly. And, you know, so we're at 1,370 some odd watch hours. And, you know, this is video number 61, I think it is, that we're putting up.
It's what, 3 months?
I think it's like 3 or 4 months. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not really keeping track of time. I'm keeping track of, you know, subscribers and everything.
Yeah.
So a lot of you YouTubers will tell you 80% of their watchers do not subscribe. So please subscribe.
At least consider subscribing, please.
We're not in it. We're not in it for the money. There is no money. We're
having fun.
We're not monetized.
Yeah, we're having fun.
We enjoy sharing our lives with you guys and what goes on. We know our coffee talks don't garner a lot of traffic, and that's fine. It's just to keep you guys up to date on what's going on, you know, on the homestead and what to look forward to or what we did. And if you don't like it, move on. Go to our renovation videos and stuff like that. I don't think the coffee warrants a separate channel, at this time.
No.
Should the channel, explode, maybe we'll.
I don't know about.
We'll branch it off.
We see all these YouTubers branching off, and they don't have full-time jobs, and we don't have. There are times that we're pressed to edit and get our weekly posts done because our lives, like Friday, I didn't get home till late because I was working with the community garden, or he's got something at his shop that he has to stay because there's no one else to do it. And it's a little bit, so I don't know. He's going to have to really convince me that we need to start another channel.
Right, but so anyway, we will keep the coffee talks as part of the main channel for now. And like I was saying, should the channel have some exponential growth, we might branch off and make a separate coffee talk channel. But I doubt it. So anyway, we are going to wrap this up because this is take 2, like we said. The first go around didn't work. I wish it did because the video looked amazing.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
The video looked amazing.
Wouldn't process.
I did. This video should be of a higher quality than our previous videos, but not as high a quality as that video that we shot the first go around. But if you're a viewer, you know exactly what I'm going to say right now. If you are thinking about family, you're thinking about friends, give them the WhatsApp or the WhatsApp. You know you'd like to hear from them as well. And until the next one, auf Wiedersehen.
Tschüss.
Catch you on the next one.